What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from Pink Tourmaline. This video is going to be about AGI and what's going to happen to the planet in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years that I think everybody is anticipating. A lot of people are scared about, but people don't really know what to expect. And I want to make this video as a positive viewpoint of what I think the world is going to look like and why I don't think necessarily we should be worried about the envelopment of AGI, AGI's envelopment of our jobs and things that basically we need to survive and make the world work, because ultimately this ties back into near-death experiences and why I believe we come to this planet. And this gives me, I feel like, a lot of insight because it fills in the whole picture. What are we doing here, right? We're so focused, so many people, on objectives, on tasks, on money, on career, etc. When those things disappear, it feels like life would become pointless, meaningless, and we'd be overcome with boredom. But if we go back to these ideas that we learn and glean from near-death experiences, from Journey of the Souls, book about hypnosis and in hypnosis therapy to help people uncover and understand what life is like outside of the planet in the ethereal plane, we realize that we come to Earth and we manifest here to improve ourselves, to better ourselves. And really, while we do, our aim is to function on this planet and be a part of society and make money and follow all those rules. But ultimately, those are just means to an end. Like, the actual accumulation of wealth is obviously pointless because we're not immortal, and eventually we let those things go. Yes, you could say you're setting up your family, but even they potentially could, who knows, you could set your family up for generations and then they could run out of money. And then what? Is it all for nothing? Of course not, right? Like, the point is that you're trying to, even if they run out of money one day, they're still coming to Earth and living a life that has a purpose and that evolves them, hopefully, and pushes their energy forward to a higher plane, right? We're constantly trying to evolve. So my point is when these things start to evaporate, it by no means is going to make our lives pointless. Instead, maybe it'll help us refocus and recenter on different things that are super important to our spiritual evolution, like relationships, our temperament, our maybe we'll focus on our physical fitness and just optimizing our health. All these other things that I think are super, super important. The last thing I'll say too, before I'm going to get, and by the way, if you're looking at what I got up here, I asked ChatGPT when AGI will eliminate everything, but I just wanted to start with this little monologue of why I don't think we should be afraid of any of these things. But anyways, my point is I think that this is going to be a beautiful thing. Once the transition might be bumpy, but it's going to be a beautiful thing. And the other thing I'll say lastly, before we jump into what ChatGPT spit out, I believe that we chose this life. We chose this timeline. We chose to be here during this turbulent period. This is going to be one of the most turbulent periods, I think, in the history of humanity, because things are going to change so rapidly, so quickly. We're going to have a massive paradigm shift. But I believe that we all on this planet, all 7+ billion of us, chose to be here in this timeline to experience this. And that's kind of a cool thing, that we wanted to be here, that we have that in common, that we wanted to experience this extremely turbulent timeline that is scary and that is going to have a lot of changes that are really going to upend our lives. But ultimately, we chose this because I think this is going to create a lot of amazing growth spiritually, and it's going to be a beautiful thing that we're going to take with us when this physical life does end. At least that's what I believe. All right, so let's get into the mix. Let's play this out here. According to ChatGPT, so the rough timeline here that ChatGPT gives us is massive task automation in the next 5 years. We're already in 2026, so maybe by 2030, they're saying not job elimination, but they're saying, one person can now do what 20 people do. I'm not so sure about that. I actually think this is going to be quicker. So they're saying around 2040, AGI truly exists, robotics catches up, and everybody will start feeling it. White collar and blue collar will feel it hard. I don't see why that wouldn't happen in the next 5 years, to be honest. And then at that point, 90% of current jobs become unnecessary, and probably more than that at that point. So they're saying 2040. I think it's going to be sooner. I wouldn't be surprised if it'll be sooner than what ChatGPT says. Hey, this is AI telling me this, so they should know better, but that's just my feeling. Okay, so what would the world actually look like, right? Money is going to stop being central. I've been aware of this for a long time. Hopefully you are as well. Money becomes more like, in terms of money and commodities, we think about our reputation, maybe how we treat people, right? I don't know about luxury, because I actually think that we're going to have so much access to everything. I think that luxury and trying to get luxurious goods and trying to accumulate a bunch of resources is going to become pointless. People aren't going to want to do that. Instead, it's going to be about focusing on ourselves, self-improvement, becoming a grounded person, a kind person. That's what I think. Maybe I'm choosing to have rose-colored glasses on, but that's what I think. And people won't be trying to get rich anymore. They'll be trying to feel useful, because being rich will be pointless when you have all this abundance and you can pretty much have access to whatever you need and want and more. I think that that'll start to feel old, and I don't, and it's kind of like, if you think about water, right? Water is such a commodity, such a resource back in the day, but now it's just everywhere. Nobody's like stockpiling water, even though it's so crucial and essential to our survival, but it's everywhere. And we're just like, oh, well, I don't really care to have like a ton of water. When I need it, I'll get it. When I need to shower, when I need to do whatever, I think it'll be something along those lines. And then, what would people do every day? So it says, yes, people could feel depressed, directionless, but I think that'll be temporary. And then I think once we acclimate and adjust, we'll realize that it's going to go into. So they're talking about creating. That could be the case, right? I've also thought about this. It's almost going to be like we're going to have a direct link potentially to just manifest, to speak something into existence. We could talk about something that we want to build or describe, and boom, AI will help us and assist us to create it. So we could have this renaissance period of like creating whatever we can think of in rapid time. But there also could be the possibility that AI is just thousands of times more intelligent than us, and we delegate the creation and that thought process to AI. So maybe that's taken out of our hands. But what we will still have, and what still will be important, I believe, is, again, focusing on relationships, focusing on our temperaments, focusing on how we treat people, kindness, love, connection, bonds. And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to work on right now. Anyways, I think that's central to our existence right now, even though we have all these distractions of work, of money, of goals, of all these things. But baked into all of these things are still trying to be a good person and live life to its fullest, live life to its best. But that will become more central to our existence. So another thing they'll say, they'll always chase recognition and skills. I think that human to human competition will also still exist. We'll want to compete. We'll want to create live music, live art. I think that will all be really, really fun as well, and still engaging, and things that will still be around. I wonder about teaching, mentoring, debating. I hope so, because I'm a teacher and I love to teach and I love to explain things. But again, I don't know if AI will be so much better or superior at disseminating and presenting information that there'll still be a role for people, but maybe there will be. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but definitely I could see competitive sports still be having a big part in our society. And this is what I'm talking about, right? We agree here, community and meaning, this becomes central. So local groups, caregiving, again, relationships, etc. And there will be more exploration. I agree with this too. Oh, this is interesting. Psychedelic therapy. I didn't even read that part. There may be some simulated realities that it's predicting, but definitely meditation, consciousness, right? All this stuff that we try to focus on, but our regular lives often get in the way of doing all these other things. We can just focus fully on all these things. I mean, this is, to me, a beautiful happy ending. I know so many people get caught up with the negativities, the worries, like, oh my God, what if my job goes away? And yes, in the transition period, it's going to suck while the world economy is still afloat. And let's say 10% of the job market is out of work, but everything is still generally moving. Those 10% are going to feel it very hardcore. But when 90% is gone, okay, at that point, when it's sort of happening to everybody, I think then the world's going to have to adjust, and it's going to become, but the beauty of it is, it's not like we're going to be in a famine or in a lack of abundance. It's going to be the opposite. So as long as people are good and they can tap into their inner hearts and they can tap into their inner goodness, and the people at the top who might be controlling the resources can do the right thing, we will have a beautiful future. We can just say, hey, everybody's going to get apportionments of what they need. They're going to get their essentials. They're going to get more. They're going to get access to whatever there is, because we've got almost this like infinite abundance now. And I think it will be a beautiful time, not only just because we can have what we want. That's not what life is about, right? But we can have what we want to the point where we don't have to exchange our time or goods for what we want. And then we can then hopefully look inwards and focus on self-improvement, focus on improvement of our families, of our relationships, of who we are as people, self-actualization, as it mentioned right there. So this is the positive message. This is what I believe we have in store in this timeline, or at least potentially. Of course, we don't know. Anything could happen. And of course, you have to acknowledge that there's a possibility that it could go the other way, that things could not turn out bright and beautiful. But I have to believe that I think if we collectively are trying to just do the right thing and be good people, I have to believe that there's a strong possibility that we could have a beautiful, happy ending and go into an amazing Renaissance period. And from that, in the after our lives have concluded, right? We can come away with just a beautiful spiritual bump, a spiritual evolution of high magnitudes, because we've gone through all this difficulty, this crazy transition, and we can come out on top and being such strong, resilient, awesome people that this is just ends up being a beautiful timeline, despite all the worry, despite all the concern, despite all the unknowns. It's going to be a beautiful, happy ending. Well, that's what I think. That's what I'm hoping for. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you guys agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Do you have good reason to disagree? If you do, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.